So hello everyone and welcome to another Let's Play of the Royal Trap by Hanako Games. Today we're going to do Chapter 7 of Calum's walkthrough, and I'm not actually looking forward to it very much because I can already tell from what happened in last time that this is going to be when we last left off, following Calum's walkthrough, he and Cassidy had arranged for us to remain a prisoner, but in better quarters. We've been climbing castle turrets on and off for days, developing a romance between Madeline and Calum, pushing for a romance between Cassidy and Oscar, getting to know Dolores and trying to figure out who she is, is she King Friedrich's daughter outside of wedlock? What is going on with her? And we've lots of questions, no answers. I've mentioned before, and I'm going to mention again, I read online that, and I don't know if this is true, this is all secondhand, I read online that Calum's belief that Cassidy was raised as Calum's belief that Caspian was raised as Cassidy in order to protect the inheritance is believable, but wrong. What I read was that in one of these playthroughs, I don't know if it's the Dolores playthrough or the Calum playthrough or the Nzagi playthrough, I do not know, but then in one of them it's revealed that Cassidy, even at a very young age, knew and understood what her gender was, revealed it to her parents, and they made all the necessary arrangements to raise Caspian as Cassidy at her request. Which, if true, changes the motivation and situation a little bit. Because, they're still abusive parents, but they're abusive parents who were trying, in what I think was a terrible way, but were trying to be supportive of their daughter, as opposed to abusive parents who were trying to protect their privilege and ownership of the kingdom. What I will fault the game for is that if that is true, we haven't seen it yet. And it's really strongly taking away a lot of agency from the character of Cassidy that I would have liked to see. Apparently, she was young enough to know her gender identity and understand that she needed to be raised a certain way, but not old enough to remember this. The game's acting like she's completely wiped any memory of her childhood. So it feels like even if she did have agency in how she was raised, if she then forgot it, we never really get to see that. I don't like that as a narrative choice. I really don't. So in the last chapter, we were hanging out in Cassidy's bedroom, talking about the assassin and the efforts that have been made to quietly investigate the assassin, which is so far a lot better than the efforts that were made in the Oscar playthrough, which essentially ended up with the palace staff turning into a lynch mob and the king and queen doing absolutely nothing to stop them. But whereas now the maid Raquel is just being apparently questioned, which, yay, good. I hope she doesn't lose her life. And actually, it's kind of ironic to me that so far the Oscar playthrough has been the one that resulted in the most political upheaval and damage to the country. But neither here nor there. Point being, while we were hanging out in Cassidy's bedroom, we found a blue bear. I note that Calum's hair color and eye color is blue. and Cassidy claimed him, the bear, as her protector, named Callie or Kaylee, which is not too far off from Calum. Calum dragged her into another room or section of the room to talk to her, and when she came back, she tearfully announced that she was Prince Caspian. So, now we get to deal with that. And again, I just want to note that I don't understand, to the point where it's almost immersion breaking for me, what on earth Calum and Cassidy's parents were thinking. Obviously, they tried to separate them in the most abusive way possible, but then didn't stick the landing, because now they've been letting Calum and Cassidy hang out together. It was kind of inevitable that there would be some kind of toy or something that Calum would recognize and tell Cassidy about. And I mean, it doesn't even feel like an example of cis people screwing up in the way that cis people do. It feels like they haven't put the slightest amount of thought into this situation, and yet we're supposed to believe that this is an all-consuming thing that they worry about all the time. You know, every time we see them talking, they're, you know, hanging out talking about what are we going to do, and yet they've put no thought into it. I don't even, like I said, it's frustrating to the point of being immersion breaking for me. But let us finish out chapter 7, and who knows, I haven't seen chapter 7, maybe it will fix everything. I am Prince Caspian. Chapter 7, The Changeling. But that's not possible! Of all of us in the room, I must have been the most surprised. You can't be Caspian. You're a woman. No, not completely. Someone bangs on the door. Your Highness, is everything all right? They must have heard the raised voices. Luckily, they haven't opened the door yet. I'm fine! She muffles her sobs against her brother's shoulder. We don't need any help in here, thank you. Reassurances delivered. He lowers his voice. They did something to him. They changed him into her. How can you be sure? This must be a mistake. When he was little, when we were together, Cass called me Kaylee, and he made me promise to protect him from the monsters. A promise I couldn't keep. Just because she gave her toy bear a nickname doesn't mean that... No, it's true. I've seen it. Huh, I know you've said it before, but even for a noble, that's hard to swallow. So now you're a man? I'm not a man, and I'm not a woman. I'm nothing. I can't be either Cassidy or Caspian. I don't know what to do. Must I become a prince? To fight and drink and boast and win a bride? I can't. No, you should not have to. If I had defended you, kept them from taking you away. But you tried, and I didn't even remember. Ah, dust. Look, don't take this as sympathy, but it sounds like your king did this, not you. Not much a kid can do to keep from getting cut or kicked when something bigger has got it in for him. I don't care for the sound of that. What sort of life did Dolores have before she was called to the palace? Still, Dolores is right. Whatever happened, both of you were children at the time. This isn't your fault. What you do now that you know, that's what you can change. Calum tried to tell me earlier, and I thought it was nonsense. He was right all along, if I'd only listened. No, you shouldn't have listened to me, not then. Why not? Because I was wrong. It was Madeline who showed me. I was trying to force you into the life I thought you should have had. If I had done that, I wouldn't be any different from the people who did this to you in the first place. You were Caspian once, but you've been Cassidy for a long time. I don't have the right to take that away. Cass, sister or brother, it doesn't matter to me. I will always defend you. Callie! Oui, wonderful. You're peas in a pod, and the king's a pot of piss. Now what? You shouldn't say that about my... Well, they're still my parents. Our parents. Even if I can't understand how or why they would do what they did. They needed an heir, If Calum was right, and something happened to the first Cassidy when she was a baby. So what mattered most to our royal parents was not their children, but their grip on power. That babe was Mother's last child. If it died, then Cousin Sophia would be the heir, and they couldn't let that pass. Sophia should have been the heir all along, not me. That means Riel is the true princess now. So that duke you thought was a snake had the right of it by your rules. By the right of blood. That is not enough. Just because your parents are in the wrong doesn't mean Duke Farad is in the right. I met him, you know, briefly. He didn't act like a man who was trying to murder Cassidy for her inheritance. He gave the impression of being more concerned that everyone else was plotting against him, which may have been only what he wanted you to see. Of course. Still, if he had sent assassins with guns, he could have had her killed outside the palace walls. If he's matched up against people who would do this to their own children, he may have reason to be so guarded. Cassidy shakes her head. Nothing makes sense. Hidden moves, secret plots. I can't put it together. I'm no sort of wisdom at all. But that's right, isn't it? I'm not a princess. I'm an imposter. I should tell everyone the truth. Wait, don't be hasty. A secret like this, if it gets out, the whole kingdom will be in chaos. Wouldn't that be a sight to see? If you remove yourself from the succession, you can never undo it. Your life as you know it will be gone. No more Princess Cassidy. No hope of a royal wedding for Oscar. No chance of a title and a marriage of my own. But that's only the tip. What would happen to Cassidy if she were revealed as a fake? The mobs would tear her apart. My life as I know it is an illusion. None of it is real. Be careful. Don't alert the guards. We still don't know what exactly was done to you or what happened to the first Cassidy. The only people who can answer those questions are the king and his wisdom. How can I trust anything they say? Waving the rest of us aside, Cassidy retreats to the cushioned safety of her canopy bed and hides her head in her hands. This doesn't feel real. If I close my eyes, will I wake up and none of this have happened? Or if I'm the dream, if I close my eyes, will I simply disappear? Her eyelids slide down, leaving her face blank but for the tracks of her tears. No sound escapes her lips. Even her breathing stills to quiet. Calum reaches out a hand to her, then lets it fall again. I should have found another way to tell you. A deep inhalation. Her shoulders rise and fall. I did not want to cause you pain. Slow breath in, then out again with a sigh, and her eyes open. You did the right thing. I've lived a lie long enough. I may not be a true princess, but I was trained to be one, and a princess must have the strength to face unpleasant truths. With those few moments of quiet despair, the worst seems to have passed, and she is calmer now. My parents, our parents, have done terrible things in the name of power. To me, to you, to everyone. They kept me isolated and ignorant. They beat you and neglected you. And when you finally reached me and there was a chance that their secret might escape, they made up more lies to confuse and separate us. Locking Oscar in his quarters and Madeline in the dungeons, telling me nothing, and then you and Dolores. It was never about Dolores, was it? It was about me. That was just another illusion to distract us. Nothing is ever about me. They did all this to have an heir, so the most appropriate punishment is for them to lose that heir, isn't it? Maybe so, but giving up your position now means punishing yourself for what they did. What would happen to you if you weren't the princess anymore? What would happen to your kingdom? If it becomes known that Prydric and Paloma lied for so long, there would be a full-scale revolt. Do they deserve any better? Our people do. For their sake, I must keep this secret. But that does not mean I should inherit. I could go to Farad privately and explain, then abdicate. And do what? I don't know. I've never known anything else. I remember a radiant young woman exclaiming over her anniversary gifts, reading out Oscar's poetry and blushing, showing off her beloved toy. I can't think of that girl as Caspian. Seeing her like this, bowed with despair, I can almost catch a glimpse of the young man she might have become. Might have, but never did. Only in anguish does her identity waver. I am just going to reiterate again that gender has absolutely nothing to do with how you look, how you react to things, what toys and gifts you like, how you behave in public. The fact that we've attempted to assign gender roles to those things is a problem with our society. I know that Madeline is cis and she's living in a cis sexist society, and I understand that these mistakes are common mistakes that cis people make, but these are mistakes that need to stop being made. To act like Cassidy's gender is dependent on how she reads poetry or blushes is utterly ridiculous. This is what Friedrich and Paloma have done to her. This is the cost of the game of politics. Whatever you choose, I will support you. Nothing has to change if you don't want it to. I don't know what to do. So the options are talk to your parents or talk to Duke Farad. So let's go have some communication and talk to your parents. I don't think you should make any rash plans right now. You're still reeling from the blow. Your parents have overreached themselves in a desperate attempt to keep you from learning the truth. But they failed. You know. That means you have power over them now. There are a lot of questions that still lack answers. You need to talk to your parents. Lady Valois is right. Knowledge is power, and you'd better use it while you can. What do you mean? I mean, we all have things we want, right? You've got their big secret now. You've got them by the short strings. It won't last. So figure out what you want before you go after them with it. I know what the boot knockers want. Does she mean me and Calum? What I want is my freedom and enough coin to keep it, with no soldiers dragging me back. So I'm trusting you to make that work. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't make us friends or sisters or anything stupid like that. Makes more sense to work together is all. Of course. You're right. We should all plan for what we want to achieve. After the plans are made, Calum sends a message to the king and his wisdom, requesting a discussion on the subject of Prince Caspian. It might have been preferable to arrange an audience somewhere else, but at the moment I am still not allowed to travel openly through the palace hallways. Since Cassidy wishes me to be present, the only available option is for the royal couple to come here to her chambers. At least, that was what we were expecting. Instead, the wisdom came alone. Cassidy, are you well? My poor little girl. Don't call me that. I am not a little girl. It seems that I am not a girl at all. You know. Her gaze sweeps the room, counting each face in turn. She does not pause when she notices my presence. Apparently my secret excursions are not so secret as I thought. We were going to tell you eventually. We only wanted to ensure you were safe. If everything had gone as we planned, if this event had run smoothly, you would have been protected. How was this supposed to protect me? Once you had been seen and admired by these assembled princes, who would dare gainsay them? Even if some rumor escaped in the future, those who knew you would deny it. No prince would wish to admit that he had been fooled. And once you were married, oh my God, really? This was the plan? Oh my God. Married, like this. Once you were wedded, your husband could not reject you. You would be safe. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't begin to describe how much danger they have put Cassidy in she had no way to know that. So the idea was to marry her off and then just hope that her husband wouldn't murder her. I can't. I am so goddamn angry right now. They have been playing dice roulette with their daughter's life, and this is supposed to be someone who was wise. I almost want this whole wisdom thing, like the world building wisdom thing, to have been a satirical setup for this moment, because this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and I'm so angry. Be that as it may, your illumination. It seems a cruel thing to change a son into a daughter for your own purposes. It was what he wanted. What who wanted? Caspian. What? I did it for him. For her. Caspian's body was male, but his heart was always female. That's ridiculous. You were so young. You don't remember how he begged to be allowed dresses and dolls. He wanted to be a girl, always. And when we finally made that choice, Cassidy was happier than Caspian had ever been. A convenient fiction to cover the choices you made to protect your own succession. You could not accept the infant Cassidy's death, so you murdered my brother to create from him a new heir. Cassidy's death? You mean you don't know? Caspian was my last child. What? That is not possible. That baby was born before you took Caspian away. I remember the presentation. There was a baby, but she was not mine. When we decided to let Caspian become Cassidy, it was far too late to claim that we had been mistaken all along. Nor could a toddling child be passed off as a newborn infant. A maid in my service was great with child. She agreed to let that infant be known for a time as my daughter. That's it? Another lie? There never was any Princess Cassidy? You are Cassidy, the only Cassidy that ever was. You always have been. I'm sorry that you found out like this. I should have told you long ago, but I was afraid. You have always been such a good girl, kind and honest and caring, everything I could want in my heir. I was afraid that if you knew the truth, you might insist on standing aside or telling your suitors. Well, of course I have to tell them. There is no reason for them to know. Don't you understand? If any hint of this were to escape before you are safely married, you would be killed. I will not let that happen. You're my little girl. I have to protect you, whatever it takes. Calum lets out a breath, half sigh and half laughter. How any thought can be so right and so wrong at the same time? I understand your concerns, but it would be wrong for me to marry under false pretenses. How could any man love me if I lied to him about something like that? My darling, you hold the wisdom to guide this kingdom. It is your duty, and it is mine to prepare you. Your husband should be chosen for his ability to be a great king. The rest is secondary. If you choose wisely, your husband will forgive you for your omission in time. There are many things I regret about the decision I made so long ago. I have brought pain to all of you, I know. For the first time, she addresses Dolores, you most of all. But I believed it was necessary in order to preserve my daughter's life. I will never be ashamed of that. Wait, what do you mean me? And then it all comes together. Dolores was that infant, wasn't she? Yes. What? If your mother had survived, things would have been different. I trusted her in all things. But she died, and the baby lived. For that brief time, I raised you as my own. I lived in the palace? You were a beautiful baby, so quiet and sweet. It's hard to imagine. But we couldn't keep you. It would have been discovered. So you brought in your new Cassidy and got rid of the extra baby. Frederick had her taken away. He said she would be cared for. If your mother had lived, we would have given her a new home. I thought he arranged something similar. Instead, he dumped me on an orphan house in the dead of night and walked away. Not quite so harsh. There were instructions, funds. He did not intend for you to perish. And later, you found out what had happened to the child you had held and arranged for her to be brought to the palace. Yes, I owed that to her mother. Dolores was the name she gave you before she died. It was her sorrow that she would never see you grow up. We have done you many wrongs, I know, but I have tried to help you the best I could. Help me. Huh. You've made me into nothing and no one. I'll never fit in anywhere. And now I was a baby princess. What does that get me? A pat on the head. I know I can't make up for what you lost. Now that you all know the truth, we can arrange a better position. No! Mother, Dolores isn't happy here in the palace. Promoting her doesn't make it better. I just need to reiterate again that a job is not charity. You guys have done absolutely nothing for her that... how about money? How about an education beyond the barest literacy that apparently she was able to pick up? How about making sure that she had appropriate land and dowry? I mean, all the things that Madeline's been worried about all this time about her trying to make a living for herself and to have a family and all of those things Dolores had even less of. And you had every capability of giving them to her. She wants to be self-sufficient, a smallholder. Perhaps if you ask her about her skills. Yes, of course. And now she turns to regard me. And now we're just going to ignore Dolores. Miss Valois, we used you to divert suspicion, knowing that you did not deserve the consequences. I am sorry, especially now that it has been made clear how much you did to protect my daughter. Friedrich planned a proclamation to restore your honor, but I was waiting until it was time for you to leave. I hoped to have you safely out of Guelenor before you could uncover the truth. And you, Calum, don't apologize to me. You don't even know me. I've looked away from you for too long. In my mind, you're still a brave little boy. I can't condone the things you've done. You have twisted order to suit your desires. I loved Caspian, and Cassidy is my sister. I won't let anyone harm her. That far, at least, we can be allies. Thank you. I'm glad that somebody needed to say it. I've got words, but I'm just going to save it for the end. A moment of silence stretches into tension, broken only when Princess Cassidy clears her throat. There is something else that we should discuss. Oh, and here's our epilogue. While Friedrich and Paloma's plan had more than its share of flaws, in the end, Cassidy's anniversary celebration was a success. Entertainment and excitement, if a bit more than planned, had been had by all. The princess was introduced to a wider social sphere and found to be acceptable. There were no further interruptions by thieves, kidnappers, or assassins, and all the guests departed safely. All except for me. Emphasizing the fragility of her position, Princess Cassidy convinced her royal parents that she needed agents she could rely on absolutely, and who better to manage the new responsibilities of royal intelligence than her brother, Prince Calum. Of course, to provide a stable foundation for such a role, he would need to be married, but that could be arranged. I can't believe what an enormous production your father is making out of this. At least you don't have to foot the bill. When I think of what I could do with that much gold, there are so many upgrades we still need to make. Your workshop especially. Do you really need quite so many pins and gears? Now you don't want me to build yet extended mirror? Then at least you... Now you don't want me to build that extended mirror? Then at least you won't be using it to spy on me. Perhaps I should request more funds for a lavish honeymoon. We could draw up plans tonight. Tonight, I expect you to have no attention for anything else but me. A fairy tale wedding to a man who truly understands me. There are few in the world who are so lucky. The guests smile and cheer as our hands meet. The guests smile and cheer. Wasn't she recently a traitor to the... Okay. I guess we fixed that. Even Dolores is in attendance, now that she's certain no one will try to arrest her or press her into service. Her invitation was not Calum's idea, but Cassidy's. The princess has maintained an unlikely correspondence with her former kidnapper, trading information as they each adapt to their changes in circumstances. Dolores still insists that they are not friends, but her actions suggest otherwise. She's even sent Cassidy samples from her first planting. Considering their history, I wouldn't be surprised if her only wedding gift to Calum is a lump of mud. Prince Oscar cannot be here today, although he has sent wedding presents in his name. It is too soon, since his last visit, and my new rank too unimportant to be worth the breach. Still, I expect I will be seeing him again soon enough, as he is courting my new sister, Princess Cassidy. Perhaps in the future, Oscar will truly be my brother. Whatever happens, Calum and I will work for the security of Guelinor together. So there's our happy ending. And okay, I'm glad that we finally cleared the air on Cassidy being raised the way she has been, because it was what she wanted. I do accept that as truth. I'm not gonna, oh, well, that could have been a lie. It could have been a lie. I'm not going to personally headcanon that. I think that when Paloma says this was Cassidy's choice, Cassidy wanted to be raised as a girl, as far as we define it in our society, I'm going to accept that was true. I wish that it had been given a little bit more than one little sentence screen that was, oh, she liked dolls and dresses. Because, again, gender identity has nothing to do with dolls and dresses. I understand that. I'm choosing to believe that Cassidy knew her gender identity, and that was the way that she was expressing it. You know, I'm a girl, also I want dolls and dresses. I also wish that Cassidy could remember that, even if it's just, oh yeah, now that you say that, I totally remember that. Something more than just a throwaway, well, according to Paloma, since, I mean, let's be honest, Paloma is not a reliable witness. Paloma's not a reliable person. Yeah, I believe her, but I wish we had more to hang our hat on than a choice to believe or not believe her. I am utterly furious that the plan was to trap a prince in marriage, and on his wedding night just be like, surprise, and go with this ridiculous victim blaming, I'm sorry, but bullshit, that, well, if Cassidy chose well, then the guy she chose would not be a danger to her. That's not something that, and I cannot even imagine. I'm so furious that was the plan being presented to us, that they were going to lie to Cassidy, and then the plan was, they say they were going to tell her, although who knows if they really were or not. I don't hold a lot of faith in that. But lie to her whole life, and then maybe or maybe not tell her, and then encourage her to trap somebody in marriage before telling them. I just, it put her in a tremendous amount of danger, and it honestly continues to push these fantasies and fictions that cis people have, that trans people don't disclose themselves to us because they're trying to trick us, as opposed to they don't disclose themselves to us a lot of times because cis people are freaking dangerous to trans people. It's such a centering of well, I have a right to know. No, you don't have a right to know what's going on with someone's gender identity, or what's going on under their clothes, or, that's, it just put her in a situation where the plan was to marry her off and just hope that a man raised in a cis-sexist society wouldn't turn violent. I'm so angry that they were so cavalier with their daughter's safety. And it just, oh, well, you should pick a wise, wonderful ruler guy who doesn't have any flaws, and then you'll be safe. As if Cassidy is responsible for the decisions other people make. So anyway, that was Calum's walkthrough. Things I did like. I appreciate that Calum didn't forgive his parents, and basically was like, we're gonna agree to be enemies over here, and I'm helping out Cassidy and not you. Because I fully support Calum calling out his incredibly abusive parents and being like, I'm not gonna forgive you. I'm not gonna say I love you. Don't even talk to me about it. No, I reject your shitty, insufficient apologies. That, I mean, and they clearly don't feel bad. Look at how they're treating Dolores. Look at how they've treated Calum. Look at how they're treating literally everyone in this game. Calum, Cassidy, Madeline. They have treated everyone poorly. And their apologies are just so much dust to me. So, I appreciate that Calum basically said the exact same thing. Don't even start with me. I am rejecting all your apologies out of hand because you don't mean them. I love that Calum recognized that probably before anyone else in that room, but before other than Cassidy, but before Madeline, before Dolores, Calum was the one that was like, you know what? This is your choice. It's not my place to tell you whether you're Caspian or Cassidy. This is your choice. And whatever you choose, I'm going to support you, and I'm going to protect you, and I'm your brother, and you're my sibling, and I love you. And so I really appreciate that. It highlights the parts of Calum that I do like. I don't really like his violent behavior, but I do like that he's incredibly loyal to the people that he loves. And that he wants to protect Cassidy. Other things that I like. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts just rampaging around in my head. So that was yeah. Okay. That was the happy ending for Calum. The bad ending, I believe, is if you go back and tell Cassidy to talk to Farrod and encourage her to abdicate. Then you'll get the bad ending, which I'm not bothering to collect because I don't want bad endings. And I don't know. There's supposedly a normal ending. It looks like when they ported the game to Steam, maybe it got completely edited out entirely. I'm not sure how to get the normal ending. So if I find out, I'll let you know. So, okay, that was... Yeah, that was The Royal Trap by Hanako Games. That was the Calum walkthrough with the happy ending. And thank you so much for listening through to another Let's Play. I know these are kind of long, and I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much for sticking with them. And I will see you in the next Let's Play. I think the next one will be Dolores, which I understand to be essentially identical to Calum's. So it'll probably be a short skippy video. So thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.